Good morning, friends. We are back for another round of let's test all of these gums. My sole purpose was to see how the gums react on their own without being mixed in glycerin if we just let them hydrate on their own in water. So we did part 1, and those were all the natural gums. Today is going to be part 2 on semi-natural gums. However, I did throw in Guar Cat, which is a natural gum. I just thought, let me throw that in too. I wouldn't use that in a serum, but I threw it in anyways. And I also threw in a combination of gums, which is your SOLEY Gum AX. That's a combination of xanthan and acacia. I thought, let me just get them all done. All the gums will be done, except for the food gums. Like I have locust bean gum over there. I've got some other gums over there. We'll do those in a whole nother video, but this is going to be part 2. And this is going to be the last video of 2024 because in 2 days I have surgery. So I've already done the experiments, and I can tell you that in my personal opinion, based on my testing, as far as what it does to thicken the water into a gel and what it feels like on my skin, the cellulose gums beat out the natural gums by far. As far as natural gums are concerned, I would go with Konjac over all of the other ones. It had the best feel other than Gellan gum, which was cloudy. I will use that in some other formulas, and if I do decide to use the Gellan gum in a serum, I'm going to do a lot less than 1%, probably only like 0.2 or 0.3%. Because if you guys watch part 1 of this series of ingredients and actions, as far as the gums are concerned, you'll see just how thick that it was. It was lovely. The feel on the Gellan gum is incredible. I'm absolutely going to be using that. But as far as a clear serum is concerned with natural gums, Konjac for me came out to be the winner. We have the methyl cellulose gum today, the hydroxy ethyl cellulose gum today, and the carboxy ethyl cellulose gum today. Those 3 produced a very, very clear gel, and the sensory feel was unbelievable. It was like powder on my skin. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. Why don't we go over there to Creation Station? You guys can see for yourself what the gums do, how they thickened, are they clear or not, and all of the jazz. So without further ado, let's just go over there and get crack-a-lackin'. So part 2 of the gums that we're going to be working with is going to consist of methyl cellulose. Again, we're going to be doing the 1%. These are going to be in bigger containers than what I did yesterday, because most of these gums need a high shear in order to form a gel. So again, we're going to start with methyl cellulose, carboxymethyl cellulose, microcrystalline cellulose, hydroxyethyl cellulose, and we're going to work with SOLEY gum, which is a mixture of xanthan and acacia. So I have my shear set up here. We are not going to be doing that today. I am just going to go ahead and do everything the same exact way as I did with the gums yesterday. I'm going to sprinkle, mix, leave it sit overnight, and then we'll see what they all look like tomorrow. But I can tell you that some of these will not be in a gel form because they do need that high shear. All right, without further ado, let's get rolling. So just to recap, we have 98.5% water, 0.5% germal liquid. That is down inside of each one of the containers. And then we have 1% on the gum. So we're going to start off with the methyl cellulose and just get that in. We're not going to stir it yet. Carboxymethyl cellulose is next. microcrystalline cellulose, hydroxyethyl cellulose. Most people just abbreviate this as HEC. And lastly, we have our SOLEY Gum AX. There are a couple of different brands of the SOLEY Gum. This is the AX, which is the acacia and the xanthan. All right, let's go and mix them all. So the methyl cellulose we can see is just balled up, not really doing much. It's literally just a ball. So we're going to leave that overnight. Actually, I think this watch glass is too small. They are. Hold, please. Okay, this is better. Carboxymethyl cellulose, otherwise known as CMC. Again, just kind of hanging out in a big old ball. Microcrystalline cellulose. This is starting to dissolve on its own. This is good if you have an exfoliating product that you're making. You need a little bit of an exfoliating gel. Hydroxyethyl cellulose. This is your HEC. Dissolving very nicely. And the SOLEY Gum. That's mixing in fairly well. It does have slight fish eyes. All right. SOLEY Gum. Mixed in pretty well, still has fish eyes. Your HEC, hydroxyethyl cellulose, mixed in very well, but it's going to need high shear to form a gel. Your microcrystalline cellulose, or MCC, again, that's going to need a high shear, but it did mix in really nicely, starting to dissolve. Carboxymethyl cellulose, or CMC, just hanging out down in the bottom there in a nice big old blob. It needs high shear. And then we have our methyl cellulose, also needing high shear, just hanging out down there in the bottom in a big old blob. All right, you guys, I'm going to leave these overnight just like I did last time. It's going to be a few seconds for you, tomorrow morning for me, and we'll see what, if anything, these things did as far as forming a gel. And if they did not, we're going to go ahead and use our handy dandy high shear. Sorry about the lights. All right, see you in a few seconds.
The next day.
It is the next day. We are back. It's just a few seconds for you guys, but I decided to add cationic guar cat to the mix. I wasn't going to, but I thought, let me throw that in anyways. Because this is, all of these actually, except for the SOLEY Gum, all of these that are the cellulose gums are considered semi-natural. The ones we did yesterday are natural gums. These are semi-natural gums. And I thought, well, let me just go ahead and throw the guar cat in there anyways. It is completely different than guar gum. It's got totally different inky. And it is cationic. I use that in my hair products quite a bit. It offers a really silky smooth feel to your hair products. So anyways, let's go ahead and take a look and see what everybody did overnight, which is nothing. But I already knew that. I told you guys yesterday, all of these are going to need high shear. They're just going to sit in there and literally do nothing until you mix them for quite some time. And some of them could take upwards of 30 minutes. Like the HEC, the hydroxyethyl cellulose, that could take a good up to 30 minutes depending on, you know, how your shear is. Now, obviously, I have an overhead stand mixer. You guys can use your stick blenders, your immersion blenders. That's perfectly fine. But let's take a look and see what Guarcat did overnight. I did, like I said, I added that at the end of the night last night. It's starting to get thick on its own. So this one most likely will not need shear. I'm going to let this continue to hydrate because it was later in the day that I decided to go ahead and add this to the mix. But as you can see, there's a very, very nice viscosity already. This would be great in a serum, but I wouldn't use it for a serum because it's cationic. I just thought I'd throw it in the mix anyways. Excuse me, I have a little tickle in my throat. But yeah, the viscosity is very nice so far. I'm going to let that keep on hydrating on its own. I mean, if you wanted to use this as a serum, you know, be my guest, but this would not be my first choice. Because it's cationic, it's not going to work with a whole lot of ingredients. So we're just going to leave that one off to itself, and we're going to move on to the methyl cellulose. All right, let's take a look at methyl cellulose and see what, if anything, it did overnight. So you can see this big clump right here. And it's pretty much going to stay that way until we, you know, get a shear to this. Again, you guys don't have to have an overhead stir. I just happen to have one. I don't use it very often, but it's nice to have. Use your stick blender. But it's starting to get viscous on its own, but I am going to go ahead and stick this underneath the mixer. And as you can see, it's clear, which is fantastic. As opposed to the, if you're going to be using the Guarcat, that's cloudy. All right, next up we have the CMC, the carboxy methyl cellulose. And what do we got? We got another big clumpy lumpy. Okay, but this is also clear. If you left this one to sit for a couple of days, this would hydrate on its own and form a really nice gel. Even just mixing it right now, mixing that big old blob in there, I may not even need to use a high shear on this. Because like I said, I sprinkled, you saw it, I sprinkled and I let it go overnight. That's it. So yes, there's a big, huge blob in the bottom that you have to mix in, but look at that. This is a very nice gel, and it's crystal clear. So this, again, is the carboxy methyl cellulose, CMC for short. So I will give it just a little bit of a buzz underneath that mixer, just to combine everything better, but it's not needed. All right. Okay, microcrystalline cellulose. It's really doing nothing. It's just a white powder kind of just hanging out there on the bottom. So we will be putting this one underneath the stirrer to see what, if anything, happens. Hydroxyethyl cellulose, which is your HEC that you hear everybody talking about. You can see kind of like a little bit of a blobby situation on the bottom here. But it's basically just water until you get it underneath that shear. This one absolutely needs high shear to be able to form a gel. So it's just pretty much just water right now. So that one will be going underneath the stirrer. And then lastly, we've got that SOLEY Gum AX, which is a mixture of xanthan gum and acacia gum. Remember when we did our test yesterday on the acacia gum, and it was just the gum arabic, the acacia gum, it's basically just water. So now you've got a combination of that mixed in with the xanthan gum. This is not a thick fluid at all. It's very, very fluid, very fluid. What I would say that I would probably like about this, without even doing a feel test on this, is that our skin needs water. That's the very first thing our skin needs to be hydrated, is water. And since the acacia gum just basically is kind of water, mixed in with this. You know, this isn't going to make a thick gel unless you use a lot more, obviously. This is just at 1%. I think this would be really, really good when you're looking for extra hydration. I think that this would be a good choice. It's too thin for my liking at 1% for a serum base. I would not use it at 1%. I would bump that up. But no need for sheer on this, okay? And it is cloudy. Like the xanthan gum clear was clear. The acacia gum on its own was clear. I don't know what type of xanthan gum they actually put in here. I think I got this from Lotion Crafter, fairly sure. Or was it? No, this was Lotion Crafter. So I don't know if this was xanthan gum soft, if it would, I don't know. I don't know what kind of xanthan gum they use in this blend. So it's cloudy. All right, let's just stick that aside. Let me get this overhead stirrer ready, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, first up is going to be our HEC. So let's just go ahead and turn this overhead mixer on, and we'll start letting it go on low to begin with, and then we'll bump it up a little bit. But like I said, this could take up to 30 minutes. I'm not going to keep you guys here for the entire 30 minutes. Just to see this, the beginning process, and then I'll bring you back at the end once it starts to form a real nice gel. So we're going to turn that up. All right, I'll bring you back. Okay, so this has been going for roughly about 15 minutes. We're going to go ahead and stop it now. And we're going to take a look at the viscosity. It's pretty foamy. Let's bring this camera back just a little bit. It's pretty foamy, and so hopefully this will calm down. But it's definitely thick. It's no longer water, as you can see. And so I think, you know, if these bubbles dissipate, it'll be just the right consistency. So once again, we're going to go ahead and leave this overnight, and we'll come back tomorrow and we'll take a look and see what this is doing. All right, but that's our HEC. It's no longer water. Okay, next one up, we have the MCC, which is our microcrystalline cellulose, and we're going to do the same thing. By the way, with the HEC, I did time it. So I started and kept track of the time, and so we did go ahead and stir that on high shear for 15 minutes. So we'll go ahead and see how long we have to do this one in order for it to start thickening and becoming a gel. This is the microcrystalline cellulose. Okay, it has been 30 minutes since we started this with the microcrystalline cellulose, and I can tell you that nothing has happened. And so at 1% for this particular gum, you're not going to achieve anything at all. So it's literally no different. Let me just back this up a bit. It's literally no different than when we started, and this has been going on high shear for 30 minutes. It's still just water. So at 1%, you're not going to achieve a gel with microcrystalline cellulose. So that's good to know. Now, our next gel was the carboxymethyl cellulose, the CMC. And I'm not going to put it underneath the shear because it doesn't need it. In the time that I've taken to do the high shear on the other two, this is completely dissolved. It's completely thickened up. It's a wonderful viscosity, and it's completely clear. Sorry about that. So this is your CMC. Very nice. Now with your methyl cellulose, I am going to go ahead and give it a little bit of a shear because as you can see, there's still like little clumpies. It is dissolving very nicely. It's clear. It's got a great viscosity to it, but I am going to give it just a little bit of a shear just to mix those up on the bottom. Okay, it's literally only been about 2 minutes and I can see with my eyes that everything has been broken up. So we're going to stop this. All right, let's take a look at the methyl cellulose. Looks great. Everything got broken up. This is a very, very nice viscosity. This would be a great serum base. Love this. Crystal clear. Looks great. So yeah, you don't have to use sheer on this. I just did just to break up those few extra clumps. If I had let this just sit on its own for another day, which I'm coming back tomorrow to take a look at the HEC just to see what's going on with that. And then we're going to do the field test again tomorrow. But if I let this sit until tomorrow, I would not have had to use that sheer whatsoever. I just did it just to be able to, you know, get a definitive look of this product. So yeah, this is great. This is the methyl cellulose at 1%. Okay, and the last one we're going to be taking a look at is this Guar Cat, which you do not need to, you know, do the high sheer on this, but there are some clumps in here only because I did this very late in the day yesterday. I mean, it was very late. Otherwise, all these clumps would already be dissolved today. This is a really good consistency too. Love it. The viscosity is great. It's cloudy though, so keep that in mind. But we are just going to go ahead and give it a little bit of a blast underneath the sheer just to break up those little clumps. All right, let's give this a whirl. Just for about a minute, just to break up those clumps. All right, and here's our Guar Cat all mixed up. I don't see a reason why you would want to use this as a serum base. Again, this is a cationic guar. This is better suited for hair products, but this is just a demonstration on the thickening of all of the different gums that we use in cosmetics. And so this is a lovely viscosity. No sheer was needed. It dissolves really quickly. Like it was pretty much almost dissolved last night when I left. Just a couple of chunks remaining this morning. So it dissolves really quickly. So again, the moral to this story is you don't need your glycerin. You don't need your solvents. If you wanted to use this in a product, just put it directly into your water to create your gel. All right, let's take a look at all of them now. All right, the HEC got nice and thick, but it's very, very foamy. We're going to come back tomorrow and see what the brouhaha is about all that, see if that foam dissipates or whatever. Hopefully, yes. But it needed some sheer. Took about 15 minutes for that one. Microcrystalline cellulose is a no-go at 1%. You would have to use a whole lot more. This is pretty much akin to the acacia gum. It didn't do anything really, sheer or not. It's just not going to do anything at 1%. You're going to need a lot more of that. The CMC, carboxymethylcellulose, very, very nice. Nice thick gel, very clear. Did not need any sheer at all. Just hydrate that overnight with your water. Really good. Methyl cellulose, very good, clear, thick, no sheer needed. That would be a great serum base as well. And then lastly, we have our Guar Cat. I would not use that for a serum base, but it thickens really nicely on its own with no sheer, no glycerin needed. So that's cloudy, obviously. And then we've got methyl cellulose, which is clear. We've got carboxymethyl cellulose, which is clear. We've got this microcrystalline cellulose, which would be cloudy. And right now the HEC is cloudy, but we'll see tomorrow what happens. All right, stay tuned for tomorrow, y'all. Okay, it's day 3 and we're back at the soap shop. And so I just wanted to see what everything has done overnight again. So this is day 3. Everything has remained the same, but my biggest thing was what happened with the HEC, that it was all foamy yesterday. So this is your Guar Cat, methyl cellulose, carboxymethyl cellulose, microcrystalline cellulose. And here's what I really wanted to see on day 3 to see if all of the foam had dissipated or not. hydroxyethyl cellulose. This is your HEC. So that's good. I basically just put the sheer on too high and created a lot of foam, but it did, you know, dissipate and dissolve and get mixed back in. So that's the main thing that I wanted to see today. Give me just a second. We're going to do a field test on all of these. Okay, I went ahead and gave everybody a little stir. Let's go ahead and do a field test now. I want to show you guys the texture, the viscosity. This is our Guar Cat. All right, let's do a little field test on this. There's a white film too on this, so it's film forming. I can see that. It's very, very sticky. Oh yeah, this is very, very sticky. I would never use this in a serum. Y'all do what you want, but that's extremely sticky, the Guar Cat, and it's film forming on my hand, so I'm gonna stick to using that in my hair care products. All right, next, let's move on to the methyl cellulose. This is fantastic looking. I love the look of this. This is great. It's like very thick syrup, but I think this would be an awesome base for a serum. All right. Let's try a little bit. It's a little bit sticky and tacky like the others. Let's see if it continues to, yeah, it's starting to get a little bit more tacky as I continue working with it, but it's nowhere near as sticky and tacky as the Guar Cat. But it definitely does have some, yeah, and yep, I probably wouldn't use this. It's not a nice smooth glide, though it did absorb pretty quickly. So hold on, let me not be hasty in my decision making here. So now that it's actually absorbed all the way in, there's no sticky tacky. But applying it during the application process, it was fairly sticky. And then like there was a drag on my skin as I was trying to rub that in. But now that it's in there, I don't feel anything at all. And in fact, there's almost a powdery feel to it. So once that's rubbed in, the methyl cellulose, that's actually very lovely. Yeah, there's like a powdery feel to this. I don't know how to describe it. It's not silky. It's powdery. Yeah, that's quite lovely. It's just applying it right in the beginning there didn't feel great, but now it feels lovely. And it's completely clear. So I actually really like that one. All right, let's move on to the carboxymethyl cellulose, the CMC. It's a little bit thicker than the methyl cellulose. All right, let's try some. This time I won't be as hasty. I got to get a clean one, sorry. I won't be as hasty in my first impression. Let's give it a second until it sinks in, until I start rubbing it in, because that methyl cellulose, that's very nice. Very nice. All right, let's rub this in. This is our carboxymethyl cellulose, CMC. It does not feel slimy, not to me. There's a slip to it, but it's not slimy. No more stick or tack than any of the other natural gums. These are all the semi-naturals, except for the SOLEY gum and the Guar Cat. All right, so I'm experiencing the same kind of like drag on my skin as this is penetrating. Let's see what it feels like after. There's still a slight drag to it, not too bad, and it's lessening the more that I continue rubbing. It's not as powdery feeling as the methyl cellulose, but it sunk in and absorbed very nicely. There's nothing left on the top of my skin. It's not sticky or tacky at all. I have zero tackiness, nothing. It feels just slightly less powdery, I guess, than the methyl cellulose, but the same type of sensory feel. It's really quite lovely. Yeah, I like that a lot. Okay, moving on. Okay, I'm not even going to bother with the microcrystalline. It's just, the powder's just sitting on the bottom. It's just water. You would need a whole lot more of this product than 1% to form a gel. I'm not even gonna bother with that one. It's gonna feel just like water. So let's move on over here to the HEC, the hydroxyethyl cellulose. And as you can see, everything has dissolved very nicely. Yesterday it was all white foam, and I didn't do anything to it this morning. I just came in and it looked like this. So this is a lovely texture, lovely viscosity. This would be great for serums. It's less thick than the carboxy methyl cellulose, and I would say about the same as the methyl cellulose. This is the HEC. All right, let's take a feel of this one. Oh, it's really very nice. Again, slightly sticky and tacky like the other ones, but it's not off-putting at all. It's slippery. Let's rub that in all the way. A little bit of a drag once it starts absorbing like the other two. Yeah, it's absorbing nicely, and there's like no sticky or tacky at all. Let's continue to rub in and see what the top of the skin feels like though. On the fingers, it's great. There's nothing sticky, nothing. All right, this, if in my personal opinion, is not as like smooth and powdery feeling as the other two, the methyl cellulose and the carboxy methyl cellulose, but it still is very lovely. I think maybe if I gave it another minute or two to really let it get in there. I mean, it feels beautiful. My skin feels, it's just such a smooth, powdery, silky. It's a very, very nice sensory feel. Very nice. Very, very nice. Okay, and lastly, we're going to take a little bit of a skin feel here on the SOLEY gum, which is our mixture of xanthan and acacia. It's quite liquidy. I would bump this up for a serum just a little bit. I mean, it's a very thin, compared to the other ones, it's a very thin gel in comparison, but some people may like this. I would bump it up just slightly, not too much. Let's see what this feels like. It's not too bad with the sticky tacky. Very little, like very little. It's rubbing in nice, it's absorbing nice. There's a nice glide and slip to it. Yeah, there's hardly any tackiness. Got a little bit of a drag going on, but that's just like all the other ones. Same thing happened until it really started sinking in there. So let's give it a second. Yeah, there's nothing sticky or tacky at all once it absorbs. Comparatively, feels like all the other ones. Very powdery, very smooth. It's like a nice slip without it being wet, you know what I mean? Like when your skin is so smooth, you can just slide right off of it. That's what it feels like. That's very, very nice. I like that a lot. Yeah, that's very nice. Okay, and that's gonna do it, you guys. In conclusion, I would not recommend the Guar Cat at all. It's very sticky and leaves a film on the top of your skin. I would not recommend this one at all, but it's great in hair care products. Use that, you guys. You'll love it. Methyl cellulose, fantastic. Completely clear. It's like a, kind of a thicker syrup. All of these had a wonderful sensory feel. Really nice. This is our carboxy methyl cellulose. Thicker than the methyl cellulose. Absolutely thicker than the methyl cellulose. You can see it. We didn't even bother with the microcrystalline. I would not recommend that unless you're going to bump that percentage up quite a bit. And at this point, I don't know what that percentage would be. Your HEC, very nice. It's about the same viscosity as the methyl cellulose. The thickest out of these cellulose gums would be the carboxy methyl cellulose at 1%. And then the HEC is the same as the methyl cellulose. Crystal clear, perfect. And then we have the Solo gum, which is cloudy and much thinner than the others as far as the viscosity is concerned, but some people may like that. If you want or need it thicker, just bump up that percentage, that's all. Okay. Whew, wowee. All right, you guys, that's going to do it. Today is Saturday. I have surgery in 2 days, but I wanted to get part 2 out so that you guys can take a look at all of these different gums and cellulose gums and everything else that we have at our disposal through all of our suppliers to use as thickeners in a variety of different products. However, my goal was to see what the viscosity was on all of these for the sole purpose of using them in serums. So I hope this helped you guys. I hope you learned something. I learned quite a bit. I've got lots of notes. Unfortunately, I will not be able to, well, I can't say I won't be. We'll see how it goes between now and Sunday night if I can get this part 2, into a Word document and upload it onto my Patreon. Part 1 is already there. The video is up there on the Patreon, and then I've got a big long list of my findings of part 1 and all the gums that we did there, and it's in a downloadable Word doc. I will try to get this done before tomorrow night, but no promises. But at least the video will be there for you guys to reference that. Whew. And with that, that is going to do it. It's going to be a little bit, I don't know. I'm hoping they're not going to have to do too much as far as surgery is concerned, and that I'll just be in a sling for like a week or so and then call it a day. But if the other case is what it is with a 6-week sling, it is. I still have a right arm. I can still do stuff, right? Okay, that's what we're going to do. You guys, have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Take care of yourselves the best you can. Love you all, and we'll see you very soon.